Hello and welcome to another Black Crow video. I am Sam. I'm our melee chaosy specialist. So I'm here today to give you a Emperor's Children unit tier list. Now, there's a few tier lists out there. Mine's going to be being focused in the competitive side of it, right? We all the models are really cool anyway and stuff like that. But like, I'm here to talk about why I think each unit is competitive or not, where it could be best used. I'm going to be ranking these units based on where I think they would be best suited. So I'm not going to be like, oh, the Land Raiders crap because it's only good in one detachment or something like that, right? Like I'm going to be framing it based on how they could be best used, not just how they're used generally. But yeah, if you've got any comments or like if you disagree with me or anything like that, please let me know. And if you enjoy this sort of type of content, please also let me know. And if you want to see other codexes broken down in the same way. So without further ado, I will start with the first unit, which obviously we must start with Fulgrim because it's Emperor's Children. We've got to start with the Primarch, right? So Fulgrim's rules are quite interesting. If you're not familiar with the rules, I'm not going to go into super detail on every stat line for each unit. But the main thing to think about for Fulgrim is his three abilities that you can choose from and the poison mechanic, and then just how hard he hits in general. Because basically, Fulgrim is I mean, he's a demon Primarch, right? And he does the demon Primarch stuff well, right? He's fast, he hits hard, but the main thing that is different from his three brothers are all the other ones are army multipliers, right? You've got reroll ones to wound or ignore modifiers from what's his name, Mortarion. And you've got Angron, 4 rerolls to hit. You've got +1 to wound for psychic weapons with Magnus. Like, all of them have something that makes everyone around them so much better. And the closest thing Fulgrim has to that is a no fallback aura, which he doesn't really benefit that much from because he's a monster as well. So he just gets beamed in the face anyway. The poison mechanic is cool. It does an average of like 1 mortal wound a player turn, so that can sort of really whittle down and stack on some of these units that might be have a really good defensive profile but not a huge amount of wounds. But it's hard for him to get that poison onto everything without, because let's be honest, he's gonna probably charge into something and kill it. I think at 385 points, which is what his starting cost is, he is going to be severely under done. Like, it's just not going to be a good time for him. So yeah, it's I think we're going to put him into C. I think at the start. I mean, I might rejig some of these things around at the end, but I feel like Fulgrim has a lot of potential, but he just is too many points at the moment. He doesn't do much for the army. He just hits hard, and yeah, maybe we need that in some ways, but I just think that he's struggling there. And there's no detachment that really makes him sing. I feel like the best detachment for him at the moment would probably be the demon one. But yeah, so that's where we're starting. I think here with Fulgrim and C, and then we'll move on to the Rhino. Now, Rhinos are pretty much all the same across all of the detachments, but for some reason this one is not. Sorry, not for all the attachments, all the codexes, all the indexes, like different. They've all got the heal 1 wound rule. This Rhino does not. This Rhino has the ability to let your guys drop out after after the Rhino's advanced, and then still be counting as having made a normal move. Now, you can't make a charge, but you do count as having made a normal move, which means that you don't have to have the same restrictions on your like from the army rule. Which is just really, really powerful for just shoving a Rhino further than people expect it to go, dropping out Noise Marines, and just hitting hard into, shooting something that is the opponent probably thought they were covered or hidden from. Because also you could drive it up to a wall, drop the guys out on the other side of the wall, and you get some nasty angles. And obviously the Rhino can then still shoot and charge. The guys can't charge. That's all that works there. With the restrictions for the Rhino. But also they can do actions. So the Rhino can, say you have a locus, right? So you're going to get into the opponent's deployment zone. You've not quite got that distance. You need a couple more inches. Suddenly it works out great. You can just drop the unit out, do the action, perfect. And that works for like any of the actions as well. So that normal move is really, really nice. And otherwise, it's just Rhino, right? You pop 2 Blastmasters at the top of it if you want. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. You can fall back from combat and into it to then be able to shoot with those Blastmasters still into the squad maybe you fell back from, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to shoot that squad. Honestly, the Rhino, it's slightly more expensive, but it is definitely in my S tier. Like, there is no list I'm writing that doesn't include at least 2 Rhinos. Most of them are looking at potentially up to 3 Rhinos. They are so good in Emperor's Children and just so needed to protect your squishy boys. Next, we have Lord Cacophinist. Now, Lord Cacophinist has he buffs join Terminators or Noise Marines. Don't put him in Terminators. He doesn't have Deep Strike. He doesn't help. He only gives sustained hits in shooting. It's just a mismatch, really. But he's surprisingly, because he can join Terminators, he has sort of like the Terminator defensive profile. So he's 2 up, 4 up, 6 wounds, toughness 5. Like, he's tankier than he has any right to be, and especially for 60 points. He has a nice mini grenade that causes battle shock after he's shot, and it's after his unit shot one of the things that you've shot. So if you shot like Blastmasters into one thing and then his like heavy bolter equivalent shots into another, you can do the mortals to the Blastmaster target, not just the target that he shot. So I really, really like the Lord Cacophinist. I think he works really, really well with Noise Marines. The main issue that they have with that is the unit goes up to 7, which makes it very awkward for Rhinos. But I think that like slight downside, and the fact that he doesn't have crazy amount of damage himself, but he's great utility, I put him in A tier. So just before I go on to the next one, I just want to quickly mention our sponsors. We wouldn't be able to do stuff like this without them. So Glasshammer, Glasshammer, a fantastic sponsor of ours. If you just like you're using their store in any way, shape, or form, and in person, like not just online, in person as well. If you use code Black Crow, you get 5% off everything. So it doesn't matter what discount is already applied. If you're an elite member as well, it stacks on top of that. That's what I make use of quite often. It's fantastic. So yeah, please check out Glasshammer. They're great. Their store's great. Discounts galore. Terrain Forge, also amazing sponsor of ours. They do amazing terrain. The quality is fantastic. You can get custom ones, so you can have like your own logo on them and things like that. And if you use code BCG5 at checkout, there it's great. So the next one, maybe I should have teased this before the ad. Heldrakes. Now, Heldrakes have had a weird glow up, right? Like the World Eater one, where I come from, main army normally, is utter trash. It's toughness 9. It's got a 3-up save. It has, I think, 12 wounds, and it's more points than this one. And this one has toughness 10, 2-up save, 14 wounds. So damage-wise, they're very similar as well. This can get advanced and charge, because of the army rule. It's just silly fast. It does mortals in the movement phase. It just gets into combat and is not actually that bad into certain targets, right? Like, it's really good into like a big flying thing. It will do a bunch of wounds to it. It's not going to kill anything crazy, but like, if it goes into something like an Angron or a Fulgrim, it's quite good. with the flamer as well, it should kill like 5 jump pack intercessors, which is quite a nice little trading piece. It's still a bit on the expensive side, but this is honestly the most tempted I've ever been to take a Heldrake, like, which is insane to me. Like, what are we even talking about? So that's something that's like weirdly interesting there. Like, you can still use it to tank truck now. It's got toughness 10 as well. Like, it's slightly better maths. Like, it's honestly, it's something that I think I'm not like upset about the idea of people experimenting with. Now, I don't own one myself, so I don't think I'll be putting one on the table anytime soon. But you might see me using it in a TTS game at some point, just to give it a go if it fits in the points wise. Problem is, it's still quite expensive, but it's not awful. So I think we're either putting it sort of B or C range. I think we're going to put it in B because I just think it's that 2-up save and 14 wounds. It's like actually quite like tanky. And toughness 10 is a big difference between toughness from toughness 9 because anything at strength 5 is suddenly having a much worse time. So I'm going to put it in B. I might do some rejigging of these different within the tiers, especially towards the end. But for now, we will move on to another vehicle beast, like demon thing. Maulerfiend. Now, we don't have Forge Fiends, but we still have the Maulerfiend. And honestly, once again, it's like the Maulerfiend in this it feels nicer than other Maulerfiends. It does hit reasonably well. You know, it's one of the few things in the army that has high strength. When we're talking about Fulgrim being here, like not great. Like it almost the fact it like Fulgrim being worse makes Maulerfiends better because you need something to like buff you up. So yeah, it's gonna be like an interesting I think I've seen multiple people already putting 3 Maulerfiends in lists and seeing how that goes. Um, I've not tried it myself yet, but I think that there is definitely some play there. I think they've got they're faster than any other Maulerfiend, which I think is that the Maulerfiend's biggest problem is just getting into combat, getting to connect, or at least connect into something that is worth connecting into. So like I feel like Emperor's Children's board control with the like Tormentors and the scout moves and just generally the way that I feel like Emperor's Children can just take the mid board, I think opens up a lot of space for a Maulerfiend just to yeet through it. And you can always, bring them on from the from Strat Reserve as well. So I think Maulerfiends also are going to sit in this sort of B range with the Heldrake. I think probably above the Heldrake, but we'll yeah, there we are. And I think I definitely see play for them. I don't think that they're necessary in every list or anything like that. I think they're sort of a tech choice as well, especially if you're wanting to deal with have a better matchup into some of these like stat checky vehicle spam lists because it's one of the areas where Emperor's Children I think struggle. And then next we have the Winged Demon Prince. So the Winged Demon Prince is very similar to the CSM one. But him having the like it's faster because his move 14 is just really good. There's some in like things like Coterie, he like hits quite hard towards the late game. Like he's a really good like mid to late game piece. Uh, and I think he should be a staple of what Emperor's Children armies have because he's a bit tanky. He's not the toughest. That toughness 9 does hurt him, but he's just so good at the -1 damage. It just makes him so good at just lasting longer than he should, and then he just gets to like, oh, I'm going to fall back over here, charge there. There's some mortals. Here's me hitting you hard. Like it's the strength 8 is like, oh, okay. But in Peerless Blades, you can give him lethals when he's going into that big stuff. Or if you're in Coterie, you can end up with sustains and lethals, or even sustain and lethals on 5+, which is crazy. So I think he's really good. I'm definitely putting him up into that S tier. I think most lists will have at least one. I'm seeing a lot of lists with 2. I wouldn't be like mad at having 3 of them in there. In Coterie as well, you can give him the revive. So it's not only is he like -1 damage. Once he dies, he then gets back up, and you're like, okay, he's a very annoying piece to remove at that point. And then, well, if we've just done the Winged Prince, surely the next one should be the Walking Prince. So I think he's being slept on a little bit by the community. I think the Walking Prince, like the Lone Op, is just really good. I usually have some unit of something like on foot, like Noise Marines or Tormentors that are gonna, or Lucius as well. The fact that Lucius as a Lone Op can give this guy Lone Op, it's like, okay, they can just run around as a Lone Op pair. I run him in Peerless, where I'm already looking at trying to get more like Peerless Blades, which you get more. There's a strat in there to get more AP. So with him and that strat, you just have an army wide lots more AP. He fights on death, which also techs really well into melee matchups. Another reason for Peerless is like they're really good in the melee mirror. If you're struggling with that matchup while playing Emperor's Children, I recommend either putting one of these in or swapping over to Peerless, or both, because it's just a really good like pair there. So he sort of runs around in that middle of the board and just is a bit of a menace. Tries to force your opponent to have to come forward to deal with him because he's got Lone Op, and then with something that has to actually deal a decent amount of damage, and then you can sort of strike back afterwards. He's a little bit on the pricey side. He is more expensive than his winged brother, but I'm putting him in A. I think he is a strong piece to have. I don't see myself taking two of them, but I do see myself taking one in quite a few lists. So yeah, I've putting Emperor's Children and Walking Demon Prince into A. Next, we have Flawless Blades. So not to be confused with Peerless Blades, the detachment. It's the unit Flawless Blades. So they wound anything on 3+. Right, that's the long and short of it. Yeah, there's a downside to it, but honestly, if you're not killing something and you're losing a guy, I don't think it's gonna make a difference in the grand scheme of the game. You're probably losing the unit anyway. So they're our big tech to bring down, big toughness things, right? But the problem is they only have 3 attacks each. So if we're bringing down big toughness things, we need lots of attacks to do it because they're only damage 2. So it's like, right, we've got this really strong rule and this really weak profile because they're also toughness 5 as well, and they only move 8, and like it's there's a lot there that's just slightly less than what you want it to be. If you put them up to 4 or 5 attacks, suddenly they become really good. But at 3, a 3-man just doesn't kill what you want it to. And honestly, I've tried putting them on the table a couple of times, but they are just constantly disappointing. I think 6-mans might have play. They are still reasonably cheap. They're like 110 points. So 6-man at 220 points, I could see. But also, I think part of the reason which has put me off trying to use them too much at the moment is the fact that they're a bit squishy and don't have the models yet. So it would be proxying or TTS, and it's like, well, if I'm trying to get an army ready for a tournament for the moment that it goes live, this is extra stuff that I'd have to build and paint in that last like week or so. So that is like as an aside. But I think genuinely, I think these are going to be in my D tier here. I think there's plenty of potential there, and I'm sure someone is going to prove me wrong by taking 18 or something and like hammering through these lists that I struggle with, because they are the part of the army that's good into things like Chaos Knights and anything that doesn't have an invuln save in combat. And is supposed to be tough, they're amazing at. But then you run into something that has invuns or has -1 damage, they just bounce really hard. And it's kind of just sad to see. And they just, I mean, at that point, you kind of want to just use them as sort of like a scoring piece. So I've run out and hold an objective or thing, but they're OC1 and they don't really do anything in particular. So, yeah, into the D tier they go. I'm hoping that they're the sort of unit that doesn't need points like reduction. They need like a stat improvement, because otherwise it's just not gonna um you're going to end up with them being far too cheap, and you're just going to have people just running 18 for the sake of running 18, and it's just not going to make the army balanced. It's going to make it just silly. So next, I believe these are the Infractors. Look closer. Yeah, they're the Infractors, I think, the combat ones. So the these combo really, really well with the Lord Exultant, so I'm just going to bring him in as well to talk about both together, because I think running them by themselves, they're not that great, right? They've not got any special weapons in there other than the Sergeant's like whip or power sword, but even then, you're not getting above strength 4. So the unit is just a lot of strength 4 AP1 attacks, or maybe some AP2, which is just kind of not great. But the rule that they have is, really good, with minus a reroll once to wound, or full rerolls if the opponent's on the objective, which works really, really well. And so they're one of the units that sort of can punch up a little bit with those rerolls, because rerolls are scarce in this detachment, in this codex. But when comboed with the Lord Exultant, he just gets a lot better, because suddenly you're giving him rerolls to wound. He hits really hard, and so there are ablative wounds to just keep him going. He takes enhancements incredibly well. There's so many good enhancements for him. He's good in any detachment. Like, he is immediately S tier for me. Like, most times I'm taking 3 of them. Absolutely fantastic model. I think he combos with 5 of these very well. 10, I think, is just a little bit on the expensive side. That it is just random extra attacks and wounds. They're OC2 though, so that is another bonus thing for them for objective holding. I think they're quite good units. As in, they just I need them with my Lord Exultant. So I put them up into the A tier, because they are just the standard. You are not building a list without them. They are with him, they're amazing. Without him, I would put them down to probably B or even C tier if he didn't exist, because they just don't hit hard enough. But with him leading them, they just hit, they can kill most things on that go turn, assuming enemies on an objective, and they combo really well. Having 1 AP flat in Peerless Blades, you can get a CP to go up to AP2. Suddenly you're hitting anything with a 2 up, 4 up on things, on their invents. With the Walking Prince that I've sat them next to here, if they're next to them on the table when they charge, they get that extra AP, which means they're doing that without using a strat, which then works in any detachment. Or if the opponent doesn't have an invent save, suddenly you can get up to AP3 with them, and that suddenly is quite scary when you've got that amount of attacks with rerolls to wound, lethal hits. Potentially with Encotry, you could have sustained and lethals on 5s towards the end of the game, and that's, once again, lots of attacks, lots of damage, lots of AP. So, yep, A tier for them. We may as well do their shooty counterparts. So, yeah, I think I've got that the right way around. The Tormentors are honestly my favorite unit in the Codex. Now, that doesn't mean that they're automatically an S, right? Um, but every time I write a list, I wish I could get more of them in there. You have a melter gun, a plasma pistol, and 2 bolt guns, or a precision. Fantastic. It's so silly, and it most of the time won't matter. But the amount of time, it's that threat there. Multiple times in my games, I've had moments where I'm like, oh, precision melter gun on that shield captain, or on that just any leader. For example, for World Eaters, my Master of Executions is so important in that unit, but he's only 2 berserkers stuck together. the precision, like, plasmas and melter probably kill him. It's just, you overcharge and you just kill him. And like that's terrifying. So your opponent then has to play around this. They sticky objectives, they infiltrate, so they help your scouts get across the board. They help stop your opponents from move blocking you. You then can move block your opponent with them. They're fast. They move 7. They've got OC2. They're good at doing. You can sort of set, because they infiltrate. You can set them up in positions to do secondaries on turn 1. Like I love Tormentors. Most of my lists have 3 at least units, which is the same for the Infractors, but the difference is they're doing it by themselves, right? Like I don't put any leaders with them; they are just living out there. And also, maybe they wouldn't be awful with a Lord Exultant in there because you can just go forward with them. They're great grenade monkeys as well. You just like, all right, yeet this unit forward, do a grenade here, then shoot something, maybe charge something. Oh look, I killed a unit. Let me get that CP back. There's a lot there for them. I really really like how using them. Sticking objectives is so powerful, especially with infiltrate. To be able to just go, okay, I've just stuck 3 objectives turn 1. Now I just run off them onto the into the opponent to then block them from getting to those objectives. So yeah, they are my favorite out of the 2 battle line units, and I'm going to put them in S tier for now. And I don't know if people are going to agree with me, but that's my opinion, and I think they're fantastic. Next, we have a Land Raider. So the Land Raider is our only high strength shooting. It is still a Land Raider. It does actually have a capacity of 14. Which, essentially, like that helps with the problem I was mentioning earlier with the Lord Cacophinist and Noise Marines. They so Land Raiders, it's just a lot of points, and it's big, bulky. A lot of like terrain maps you might struggle with. Like UKTC, for example, it's not great for Land Raiders. I think GW terrain's not too bad, but yeah, and we were thinking about like their best situation. So granted that, and like having those last cannons will be very useful. And in the rapid detachment, the transport one, they are quite good. I like the idea that you can strat reserve one and bring it on turn 1. So it's really cool that way. Yeah. So Land Raiders, I think with that in mind, putting loads of Noise Marines in them or putting loads of Flawless Blades in them, rapid ingressing, coming in, maybe even then like like I mean, maybe you can uppy downy it, the one that you have on the board, to then rapid ingress potentially like later, or do loads of like shenanigans with. You can't rapid ingress turn 1. Someone that's pointed that out on one of my videos. But you can strat reserve it turn 1. Come on, drop units out, do long charges, or just come on, shoot, and wait and hold an angle. Hopefully, you've come on in a place where they haven't been able to react, like get angles to shoot you. So then you can just roll up and steamroll with 12 flawless blades coming out of it, maybe with Lucius, and then I don't think that would fit in strat reserve, to be fair. But and charging forward, it can be quite nasty. So because of all of those different things in that one detachment, I'm gonna put it up with the other vehicles. We're gonna go into B tier. I think there's gonna be someone having a lot of fun out there with this, but I don't think it will be the most competitive list. So that's why I've put it down into B. Next, we have Lucius. Lucius is a beat stick. He is fight first and loan up, which is always a lovely combo. He has feel no pain. He's really good as like the coterie warlord, because he's just really difficult for your opponent to remove, because they have to get close to him and they have to like kill him, and that's not going to be, he's infantry. He's going to go through walls. He's just a nasty unit. He runs into most of the things you want him to and hits them very, very hard. You know, he's not great into vehicles, but he's really good into walkers, which hey, look, I said earlier, we have issues with Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights. They're all walkers. He's one of the units that can actually run into a knight and take it down. He has you know, full rerolls to hit and wound. So when we have in Coterie, for example, when we have those sustained and lethals on 5s, he just can run into something and obliterate it because he is damage free as well. So there's a lot of damage free units with the princes and him. So it's quite a nice combo. And like I say, you can stand next to the walking demon prince and like do some killing there, or protecting from low knot, but then heroic intervention threats as well. He's really, really good. I think he's not necessary in every single list, but I think he will happily take up 140 points of your list anywhere. So I think he's going to go into A. I think I'm going to put him up at the top of A because he is really good. I might rejig some of these down as we're going towards the end, but we're getting quite top heavy over here. But I think it's just because goes to show how excited I am about using some of these units. Yeah, the range isn't huge, but we have lots of like good rules in places. Like the army doesn't hit as hard as I would like, but that's coming from World Eaters, so which hits like a train. So Noise Marines. Noise Marines are our main shooting unit. Because of that, you're kind of always just taking 2 or 3 units of them. And I think that doesn't matter how many points they are or how good they are, unless they were absolutely useless. So I think they are fine. I think they are nothing crazy. I think they don't need nerfing, but I feel like they could do with maybe a little bit of a buff. I'm not sure. It just feels weird without rerolls. I mean, if you put them in Coterie, you'll get those rerolls, but then they don't get the benefit of the sustained lethals unless they have like a Lord Cacophinist with them, then they get the sustained part. But the Coterie doesn't give ranged weapons sustained lethals. It does give them crit 5s when you get to that tier 7 pledge, but it's not really the way it just doesn't work out. Like I find that you want to, because they don't get the sustain and lethals part, you kind of want to use like trade with them early, because you want to save your melee units for when you get that buff, and it's all a bit annoying. They're really good with the rhinos, but then they don't quite fit in the rhinos with the leaders and in 2 units, but and obviously they don't get the buff from the leader when they're shooting out the top of a rhino. There's a lot of like things like their rule of -1 uh, battle shock and leadership actually like could combo really well with Fulgrim for the no fallback, and combos quite nicely with the Lord Cacophinist ability for like battle shocking. So they have a lot of use. They fill a role in the army that just can't be filled by anything else realistically, or not anything else good. So because of that, every list is taking like 18 or at least 12. I don't think that they are. I think that's going to happen even if you know, if you put them up 10 points, that's going to happen. If you put them down 10 points, it's going to happen. I don't think it's about the points for them. I think they fill that role. So because of that, I'm actually going to put them in B tier. I don't think they're that good. They just are necessary. It's one of these things that's like, oh, I'm playing Emperor's Children. I need Noise Marines. Because you do. Because you can't. If you want to play this army fully melee, you may as well just go play a World Eater army. Like that's my opinion on this. Like it's got some. If you did full melee and peerless, you're winning that melee mirror almost every time. But you're really going to struggle into those like shooty armies that have got that mobility on you. Or stat checky armies as well potentially could be a problem. So having some you know, like wardens and things that like revive after being killed, if you're only activating in one phase, you're going to really struggle. So these sort of fill that role of, oh, I can shoot and kill something and then I can charge and kill it and it dies in my turn before it does anything in its turn. Fantastic, which you just can't really do with without taking them. So they are, I think they're definitely going to be like the top of B tier. but I don't rate them as much as they will appear in lists. Like they're gonna like every list I have has I've played so far has had 18 of them. But that's not out of a oh my god I need 18 of these to be because they're amazing. It's I need 18 of these because I need that role filled and no one else can do it. Next is Sorcerer. Same amount of points as the Lord Cacophinist. His ability is okay at best. Like it does slow people down, but it doesn't really change much. Like it just does. His shooting is okay. It's just honestly every time I've looked at him and gone, maybe I should be putting him in. He never makes it onto the list. I look at him and go, oh yeah, he could be useful here. Maybe with some infractors or no, sorry, tormentors or something like that. Maybe he leads a unit here or there, and it's quite a nice, useful thing. Or maybe he's just a cheap solo piece. But if you want that, once again, Lord K is the same amount of points and way tankier. Does more stuff, in my opinion. Like is better. So the sorcerer, I just can't see him making it into a list. So D tier. I think there's a lot that needs to be changed about him. It just doesn't feel like he does anything. Um, so uh, next we have the Spawn. Now, Spawn typically are very good. Like Spawn in general, in a lot of armies other than CSM because they have OC0. These ones have OC1, and they also have a reactive move. Oh my god, amazing! Like they're faster. They move 10 instead of the 8. Jesus, like that's and they have their advance and charge or stuff like that. Basically, all of the stuff that makes like the World Eater ones so good, they have, except for that extra pip of Feel No Pain potential. But and then they don't heal. They have a reactive move, so they're amazing. Like genuinely, what a unit! I think that these would be taken in lots of armies in lots of ways, but they're still just Spawn. They're still just 2 OC, and they aren't as tanky as you would want them to be because they only have that 5 up Feel Pain, not that 4 up Feel Pain. And they don't heal. So they can be sort of like piddly shot and just like slowly hurt and killed. They also don't hit as hard. So it's one of these things where it's like, okay, they are on paper very good units. The reactive move is annoying. I feel like most reactive moves are annoying because it can happen anywhere. It's like, oh, I've got 1 CP over here to use a reactive move. And it's like that moment that you not forget about it, but like when you least sort of want them to do it is when they do it. Whereas when it's just on a unit, like yeah, if you have multiple of those units, you've got lots of reactive moves and stuff. But I feel like it's just not something the army needs. Like I think these Spawn going into lots of different codexes would be really good, but put them in this codex and it's just not a role that feels necessary because the whole like thing of like, oh, I'm going to stick an objective and then run off, like run and block you. I've got like, these guys will be starting in your like home, in your deployment zone, so then they don't have that much, like they're going to be running out onto the board, but you've already going to have stuck that objective potentially, and maybe they're going to be like a good little skirmish piece to deal with like an infiltrate that your opponent has, but then they don't actually hit that hard, and it's very swingy because of the random number of attacks. So they can bounce quite easily. They aren't as tanky as you feel like they are because of being used to other Spawn units. Like the Thousand Sun was the one that has 5 up invuln. These guys don't have that; they just have speed. Which is and there's shenanigans to use them, but I don't think there's anything like crazy useful in this army with them. So for Emperor's Children, I'm going to put them in the B tier, just under Noise Marines, because I think that's they are kind of the opposite of Noise Marines. Right? Noise Marines are like, but I need 3 of them. These are like, oh, that's amazing, but I don't need any of them. So that's how they sort of balance out. And there's still points, right? Like you've only got so many points to use. If I'm putting them in, I'm taking out a unit of Tormentors, which is like I prefer the Tormentors. Terminators. So there was a rumor at the start that before the we saw any actual proper leaks, but the Terminators were going to be amazing in this army. They said they were only going to be in 5s. That was correct. The amazing part, not correct. I don't know if they were just trolling the person leaking or just making stuff up. It was completely fake, and they just happened to get the 5 thing right, or any kind of reasons. But their rule is counterintuitive, and that is very disappointing. Because if they shoot every weapon they have at the same thing, what is it? I think it's every weapon they shoot targets the same thing. They can then re-roll the charge against that thing. But say you drop down and I've got a 9-inch charge against this unit of like Omegons, let's say. Like, okay, I can get a reroll on that charge, great. But I have to shoot them, which means they're going to take the ones that are closest. So my charge is going to be harder because I've shot them. Okay, that's not great. Then you have situations like, okay, well, you can rapid ingress them. They move 6. It's faster than other Terminators, right? That's great. But then, you're just not having a rule, right? Oh, yeah, I can shoot into something else, but it just doesn't do anything else. It's just literally just I mean, the rule could have just been reroll charges, right? Like, why? That's not a ridiculous rule to give a unit of Terminators, potentially. Like, why have a conditioned reroll charges? It's kind of like painful. But yeah, it is a fast unit of Terminators. If you rapid ingress, you've got 6 inches, and then you can advance and shoot and charge, right? Like, don't get me wrong. There's nothing inherently like awful about them in that way, but it just seems a bit disappointing that they are like as expensive as Terminators, and all they really do is hit and be tanky, and they're just slightly quicker at it. I feel like you just don't have a rule for them. That's a bit disappointing. So I think I'm putting them into C tier because I think there's probably like a world where Terminators are very useful. Like they, potentially could help deal with some of those tougher targets as well. And maybe, I don't know, maybe D is actually more appropriate. I'll put them at the top of D at the moment because I feel like I'm more likely to take Flawless Blades than I am Terminators just because of the cheapness. So we'll just do this rejig actually. So yeah, they're sort of disappointing as well. Also, you can give them a Lord Cacophinist leader, but he doesn't have deep strike, so like you're not going to have him on the board. You put him in a Land Raider, I guess. So maybe in the like transport detachment, you put 5 Terminators in a Land Raider. You bring it in turn 1, and then turn 2 drop out of it and with the like assault ramp, or drop out and run and charge stuff and charge it with the Land Raider and get back in the Land Raider and do all kinds of shenanigans with that. And maybe they work out really, really well there, but I feel like that's more the Land Raider doing stuff and that detachment than the Terminators. So yeah, that's that. So now that's all of the Emperor's Children units for like the base, their units. But obviously in the Codex as well, we have the demons. So this is not a review of the demon data sheets in the sense of like with the demon rules, like their detachments. This is just for them in the one excess detachment here. So I will just be talking of them in that context, which might be better or worse than what they would be in like a demon-related tier list. So first we have the demonettes. So the detachment that we'll be referring to gives sustained hits when nearby each other to both sides, and if you already have sustained hits, to get those 5s. So that Lord Cacophinist giving having 5s sustained crit 5s and then sustained hits for those Noise Marines. Suddenly those Noise Marines are going to be hitting hard, which is kind of interesting. Like I think that's going to be quite a thing. But so they're going to be all of the demons here, sort of in this detachment, sort of a force multiplier. The main thing is these guys, the demonettes, have fight first. They're really good in that melee mirror. They have OC2, which makes like a heroic from them could be shattering. Like you can like if someone doesn't think about it and like doesn't play around it, they like move on to an objective or do a load of stuff, and then they do a charge like just for the sake of it somewhere, and you go, oh, I'm going to heroic with these, and you then fight first. If they're near a walking demon prince, his extra AP applies to them as well. Like, so they fight first, and the low knot part applies. They hit reasonably hard in that situation, and then they've got OC2 each just to stand there. Wait, actually, they might not have OC2 on this side. It might only be on the demon side. Let me just double check that, because I don't want to be getting all of that wrong. That's a big difference. Oh, they're only OC1. There we are. Okay, still, most of what I said was still accurate, but like they won't be able to just roll over objectives with OC because they only have 10 OC instead of 20. But they can spread out. There's a stratagem that they can use for 2 CP that uppies them and then gives them a 6-inch deep strike when they're near one of your Emperor's Children units. So that's sort of a really good late game tech thing of like, oh, I've had this one in my home objective that was also stuck, but like they've been protecting back here or helping my noise marines, but now I need them over on this side. So at the end of your turn, I'm going to just shift that and be over here now, which is really cool. Little tech thing for them. It only applies to demonettes, so I think that like in the one. I mean, I've seen Liam VSL's list for this weekend. He has 4 units of demonettes in there. Now it's a team's list, so take it with a pinch of salt. But that's kind of interesting, and that sort of makes you wonder, like, okay, there's probably something here. I think I'm going to be putting them in sort of at the bottom of A or top of B. I think I'll put them at the bottom of A because for them in that detachment, like if you are taking that detachment, you are taking a few units of demonettes at least. And in some cases, if you're Liam, you're taking only demonettes. And yeah, that's what it is. So next we have Fiends. Now, Fiends lost their -1 to wound, -1 to hit in combat. They still have the shenanigans of to do with falling back. I think it's Desperate Breakout. So they're not bad. They still hit pretty hard, especially when you're giving them sustained hits. But they're not getting any like rerolls or anything. But there's some interesting stuff there. They're very fast. They're beasts. I really like them. They're reasonably cheap now that they lost that survivability. I think they combo really well with the I'm going to charge a winged prince into you, do mortals, and then I'm going to charge these guys into you, kill you, and then I'm going to charge the wing prince into something else and do more mortals. I think they're sort of the way I would go with that. They're reasonably cheap for that move, and they're fast enough to sort of be able to play it, to get it off. So I think that they are also I'm going to putting them up into that A tier with the demonettes. And then after that we have the Keeper. Now the Keeper has no longer got the Feel No Pain. Now has a 3-up armor save if you choose that option, which is kind of savage because the Corn ones already are getting that 3-up as well anyway. So they lost this. I think it dropped like 10 points or something, but like anyone would pay 10 points to put a 5-up Feel No Pain on a Keeper of Secrets. So she's just no longer tanky anymore. So I just we're talking, I don't know, we're talking down in this lower region. Like a lot of the damage is the same, but there's just she's lost her tankiness. She still has that -1 to hit, but I think you're struggling there. I think I'm going to put next to Fulgrim because not awful. Definitely has some of that ability to be annoying and do damage, and is still a reasonably tanky monster, but it's just quite expensive. Yeah, giving her the ability to have advance and charge in that detachment as well is quite useful. Sustained hits, so because the sustained hits also applies to the shooting and combat, which is relevant to Shalaxi. So Shalaxi's very similarly lost her 5 Feel No Pain, which is a disaster, and she's come down in points, but not nearly enough because she also lost her -1 attack and her rerolls ability is worse. It's not as bad as most people read it because it is like select at the start of the game, but then once that thing dies, you get to select it again. So you can, like, it doesn't matter who kills that thing. So it's the sort of thing where it's like, oh, let me just select that scout unit you put in the middle of the board. Oh, look, I killed that with some tormentors or like fiends or whatever. And it's like, okay, cool. Now it's the thing that Shaxi's about to run into and smack. Or even in the same fight phase, assuming that there's not like an interrupt threat, it's like, okay, I've charged like my fiends and my princes over here. I've killed that unit that Shalaxi's supposed to be hunting, and then now she's hunting that Land Raider that she's in combat with, so she gets full rerolls against it. She's taken quite a few hits on her like stats and stuff, but she has come down in points. And if you have sustained hits, you get crit fives. And in her shooting, she has a sustained hits 3 weapon. So suddenly that is sustained hits 3 crit fives when she stood near some Emperor's Children. Oh my god, that shooting potentially could go crazy. Because it's also D6 number of shots. Like, so it could be like 1 shot that doesn't hit, or it could be 6 shots that on average becomes like if it's 2s to hit, that would be 5 hits plus the 2 things, so that 6 shots would become 11 hits. Like, and it's like AP2 D3 damage. The spikiness there is insane, and just because of that, I like her more than the keeper. So that's awkward. So the yeah, just because of that, I like her more than the keeper. So she hops up to B tier. Right, and then last but maybe least, and maybe not least, I don't know. We'll see. The Seekers. So unbelievably quick unit, really good unit for just like blocking the opponent in and tagging them. Like, I think there's an army list here that involves a lot of fast demons. They're just going to be annoying to your opponent, but the problem is like you want your demons alive in the late game to like or for the rest of the whole game to buff your Emperor's Children units and vice versa. So you kind of want this balance, and I think the odd unit of Seekers will be really, really useful just to put that extra pressure on your opponent turn 1. You can help them up the board with Tormentors and sort of wombo combo the 2 of them together. I mean, imagine your precision melter gun going into a character and you roll a 6 to hit and you get sustained hits. Like, oh, I've now got 2 hits with my precision melter. There's some interesting stuff there that could be play around. They're cheap, they're fast, they don't hit particularly hard, but they're not doing nothing, especially into sort of screening units. They're probably quite good at trying to remove to sort of help the rest of your army. So I think they're another one that sort of will put them into the middle of B tier, I think, because I think what they do in demons, like what role they fill in demons, is less necessary over here in the same way as the spawn. I think that you just don't need that speed as much as you do in other armies. So this is my overall tier list. Do I want to jig any things around? I think maybe I was a bit harsh putting Flawless Blades in D at the early on in the video. I think maybe we'll pump them up to the bottom of C. But I think the rest I'm kind of happy with. A lot of character heavy up at the top. We've got your battle line stuff. I think you've got a lot of potential. Like, a lot of the units are good. A lot of the units are usable. I think that there's other than maybe like the Sorcerer and the Terminators. I think any of these could make it into a list and do well in an event. I think if I saw some of these ones in this C tier winning an event, I think I would be looking twice and going like, what happened here? Like, how did they manage that? What have I missed? And yeah, the rest I think is just sort of staples. I've tried to justify all of my reasoning. If you've made it this far in the video, like, thanks. I mean, please give it a like, subscribe, or do all those YouTube things. But main thing, comment. I'll be reading all the comments. Let me know what you think. you know, put a request out for other codexes, you know, you want to see tier lists of, or you know, what other Emperor's Children videos you would like to see. But yeah, let me know what you thought, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Cheers.